Today, we're doing something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to look at a university accommodation request, sort of a backstage pass to what seems like just admin, right?
Exactly. It's based on this recording, well, a transcript between a student, Maria Gonzalez, and an accommodation officer.
Just filling out a form.
It's on the surface, yeah. But it's, surprisingly revealing about how things actually work.
And for you listening, this is more than just student housing. It's really a chance to get a handle on how these big institutions gather info, how needs get voiced, or maybe not addressed.
And the choices people make in a new place.
Yeah. So our mission really is to unpack the key bits and see what lessons we can pull out.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's dive into that first part, the initial information gathering.
Right. So it kicks off with the basics, identifying the student, Maria. Her ID is 342197BX.
Just a string of characters, seems like.
Well, yeah, but that ID, it's like the master key to her whole university record. Everything connects back to it. Application, enrollment, everything.
Huh. You wonder how they structure those IDs to keep everyone separate in such a massive system.
It's a critical piece of their data management, for sure.
And then the spelling of her surname, Gonzalez, seems so minor.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But imagine the volume of names they handle. Getting it right from the start is, well, it's crucial.
Yeah, I can see that. What happens if they get it wrong? A simple typo. Could it cause real problems, like with grades or getting emails?
Oh, absolutely. A misspelled name. That can cause significant friction. Trouble finding records, delays in letters, maybe even problems with exam lists. Accuracy is paramount.
Wow. Okay. Next up, date of birth, September 5th, 2003. Standard stuff.
Yeah, confirms her age, obviously. But taken together, this kind of data helps the university build a picture of its student body. Demographics.
Right, so they use that aggregated data for planning, like
Yeah.
figuring out what services are needed.
Exactly. It helps understand the age profile. Are they mostly young undergrads or are there lots of mature students? It affects the support they might offer.
Then her course, business management.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-year master's program.
Okay, that's important context, isn't it?
How so?
Well, a master's student, especially one doing a 2-year course, might have different priorities for accommodation compared to, say, a first-year undergrad.
Like needing quieter spaces, maybe. Less about the social whirlwind.
Precisely. Probably more focused on research, writing, maybe wants more stability. And look at her arrival time, too.
August 25th. That's before orientation week starts.
Yeah, shows she's proactive, planning ahead.
What's the advantage of getting there early? Just unpacking.
Oh, it's more than that. It gives you time to, get your bearings, find the library, the department, maybe even start some preliminary reading.
Sort of the admin stuff without the chaos of orientation week.
Exactly. It can make settling in much smoother.
Okay, so that's the setup. Now, the core of it, accommodation preferences.
Right. The officer lays out the options. Single rooms, shared apartments, studio flats, even family units.
Quite a menu. What drives that variety, do you think?
Well, it's got to be the diverse student population, right? Different needs, different budgets, singles for privacy, shared for socializing and often cost, studios for independence.
And family units for those with partners or kids.
Oh.
Makes sense. They need to cater to everyone.
Yeah, if they want to attract a broad range of students.
So, Maria's choice. She goes straight for a single room.
Yeah, and she says why? Needs personal space for study.
That must be a really common reason. That link between your own space and being able to focus academically.
Definitely. A single room means fewer distractions. You can set it up how you like. It's controllable. That privacy can be really key for concentration, especially when work gets intense.
But then comes the trade-off. Cost versus privacy.
The classic dilemma.
She's okay with a shared kitchen, but really wants her own bathroom. An ensuite.
Uh-huh. But the officer mentions they're limited. There's a waiting list.
That waiting list?
Yeah.
That's interesting. What does that signal about demand?
High demand for en-suites, clearly. People value that extra privacy and convenience, and universities have to manage that scarcity somehow.
How do they usually do that? First come, first served, needs-based?
Could be a mix. Application date often matters. Sometimes specific documented needs get priority. Maybe even a lottery for some spots. It just shows you need to apply early and maybe have a backup plan.
Good advice. Okay, next choice. Catered versus self-catered.
Maria chooses self-catered, and again, she has a specific reason: dietary restrictions.
Right, she mentions a peanut allergy and being vegetarian.
No, this isn't just preference, it's health.
Yeah.
and diet.
How critical is it for the university to get this information right, especially the allergy part?
Oh, it's absolutely vital, paramount. A severe peanut allergy, getting that wrong could be incredibly dangerous.
So the university has a real duty of care there.
Totally. They need systems to make sure catering is safe, shared kitchens are managed appropriately if possible, think clear labeling, maybe separate prep areas, definitely good communication.
Okay, so moving on to location and environment preferences.
She has a first choice. Maple Hall, reason, quiet, and close to the business school.
Makes sense for a business master's student. Convenience for classes.
And her second choice is Birch Hall, described as modern with good laundry facilities.
So a slightly different priority there. Academic convenience versus like modern comforts.
Yeah, it shows what she's weighing up, proximity versus amenities. Quietness seems high on her list, though.
Which leads to the next point. She confirms she's a non-smoker. Pretty standard question for shared living.
Yep. And then she explicitly asks for a quiet area. Says she studies late, wants to avoid loud parties.
Very understandable. The officer mentions they have quiet zones on campus.
Designated quiet zones.
How well do those actually work, trying to keep different lifestyles happy in one building?
It varies, I'd imagine. It's a good attempt, though. Shows the university recognizes not everyone wants the same atmosphere. Success probably depends on clear rules, students actually respecting them. Maybe even the building layout.
Yeah, trying to balance diverse needs. Okay, what about logistical stuff?
The officer asks about medical equipment or accessibility needs.
Maria says no for her, but it's really important they ask that proactively, isn't it?
Absolutely fundamental. It's about creating an inclusive environment. Asking up front allows the university to arrange any necessary accommodations, physical adjustments, support services, whatever is needed.
Ensures everyone can live and study properly.
Right, it's about equity.
Then, transport. She's bringing a bike, needs bike storage, no car.
Seems simple enough. Bike storage.
But thinking about it, for a whole university, providing enough secure bike storage must be a bit of a challenge, logistically.
Oh, definitely. Space is often limited on campuses. They need to figure out capacity, security against theft, make sure it's easy to access. It's one of those small infrastructure details that actually matters a lot.
True. And finally, roommate preferences, though she wants a single room, primarily.
Yeah, but if she ended up sharing for some reason, or maybe in an apartment context, she requests a female student.
Okay, same gender preference, common enough for comfort.
And she adds, preferably another postgraduate student.
Ah, interesting. What's the thinking there usually?
Likely hoping for someone with a similar mindset, maybe similar study habits, academic pressures, perhaps a quieter lifestyle compared to, say, a first-year undergrad. Aiming for compatibility, less chance of friction.
Makes sense. Aiming for a smoother living situation.
Exactly.
Okay, so that covers all her preferences and needs. Now we get to the admin wrap-up at the end.
Right. The officer gives timelines, confirmation within 3 to 5 working days,
Good to know. Reduces anxiety.
and notification of which building she's assigned to by early August.
Crucial for planning the actual move, booking travel, all that. Managing expectations.
Definitely. And then they exchange contact details, her student email, m.gonzalez12@studentmail.com, and a phone number.
Standard, but essential for any follow-up questions or issues. Why is getting this communication part right so important at this stage?
It's about building trust, really. Clear timelines, clear contact info. It makes the student feel supported, less like just a number. It shows the university is responsive, or at least aims to be.
Reduces stress during a potentially stressful transition.
Precisely.
And then the officer has those closing remarks. Welcoming Maria, wishing her luck, just politeness, or something more.
Well, it is politeness, but it also serves a purpose, I think. It personalizes the interaction just a little bit, reinforces that she's joining a community, not just enrolling in an institution. It contributes to that first impression.
A small touch, but it matters for the overall experience.
Yeah, those little things add up.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Maria's request, what are the big takeaways for listeners? We've gone from just a form to seeing institutional processes, individual needs.
On the complexity of just trying to house students effectively and supportively, I think what stands out is how this routine task is actually a really key moment. The university gathers vital info, tries to match needs with resources, and basically sets the scene for the student's life outside the lecture hall.
It highlights that balancing act, needing standardized processes for efficiency, but also needing to personalize things for diverse students.
Exactly that.
So here's something to chew on. Think about all those factors Maria weighed up. quietness, location, diet, even the type of roommate she might prefer. How do those kinds of considerations echo your own decision-making when you face a new environment or a big choice? What are your non-negotiables? Where do you find you're more flexible?
It's a good question, and it leads to a broader point, perhaps. This close look at one accommodation request shows how much is going on beneath the surface of seemingly mundane interactions with institutions.
Like filling out any form, really.
Right. These processes are packed with information about how things work, what's valued, how individuals are seen or catered for. What other everyday things applying for something, setting up an account, might reveal similar insights if we, just looked closer.
Maybe next time you're answering routine questions, pause and think about the bigger picture behind them.
Definitely something to consider.
Well, that's definitely given us food for thought. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
My pleasure.
Until our next exploration.